Advanced Elements is the leader in design and manufacturing of inflatable kayaks with cutting-edge technology and providing excellent customer service. All of their products are designed to give paddlers the tools they need at a value they deserve. Check them out at advancedelements.com or call toll-free at 866-262-9076.
Hello, and welcome to Paddling Places, Florida. I'm your host, Mr. D. Hey, we're going to do something totally out of the ordinary today. What we're going to do is a complete setup, behind-the-scenes review of how I set up, how I inflate the craft, how I fold the craft, how I put the deck bags on, how I rig all my cameras, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you that today. And I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I thought about this all day yesterday, and this is something I've never done before. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through the basics on pumps. That's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to talk about pumps. So, hey, we'll be back in a minute. Okay, guys, what we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about the AE double action hand pump. Now, this is the pump you want to use for your advanced frame kayaks. That's everything from the Sport, the advanced frame, the Elite, and of course the Tandem convertible. This is the one I use. However, I do use electric pumps. Now, for the Airvolution, I use the Shark 2. And for all my AE kayaks, the advanced frame kayaks, I use the, I think it's called a Surveyor or Savior or whatever the heck it's called. Anyway, it's that one there. I'll put a link in the description. It will handle your drop stitch floor. It'll handle those kind of pressures, but it won't handle the pressures for the Airvolution, and that's why I bought the Shark 2. Now, this one works great for all of your advanced frame kayaks from the Sport all the way up to the convertible. It works really, really cool. So what you have to do first, guys, is you have to make an adapter to adapt to these particular hoses. Now, in the back of your seat in the advanced frame models, you'll find one of these adapters. Take one of the adapters that come with the pump that you don't use and adapt it to where it will fit onto the hose of that specific pump. Now, I'll put a link in the description showing the videos I did on the Shark 2 adapter and the one I did for the Surveyor pump. I have both videos on that and show you how I made those adapters to work, and it works really, really excellent. So these are the pumps I use. First of all, I do the preliminary fill with either this one or this one, depending on what craft I'm going to use, and then I top it all off, and using, of course, the pressure gauge, which is critical, and I top off the deck lifts, the combing, and stuff like that, using the Advanced Elements dual action hand pump, and it works really cool. So that covers the pumps. Now we're going to get into the actual inflation process and how I do that. So hey, we'll be back in a minute. Well, you guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and do the inflation process for the AE 1044 DSXL. Now, this is an advanced frame limited edition model where they extended the length another 5 inches, and that little 5 inches sure really pays off. Now, you can only get this one through airkayaks.com. So anyway, back what I do, first things I do is make sure that all the military spring valves are popped up here, and then I go ahead and insert the end stiffeners. And I do that before I inflate it because it's a lot easier to do. So I'll get that, insert that one. Then what I do is, if you use the footrest, which I do, it's best to put it in now. It's a little easier. I just unzip the front, Pop a couple of these riggings out of the way. And I go ahead and get this thing all set up where I have it. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different locations for you to adjust your foot length on. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed now, and then I'll go to the inflation process. Sorry you have to hear the engine running on my truck, but for the Shark 2 to operate, because it has so many amps, you have to run your engine. Okay, that's all ready. Now zip this thing down and close up the rigging, and then we'll go ahead and get started on the inflation process. Now again, make sure that all your military spring valves, and if you have the drop stitch floor in your craft. Now the 1044 comes with the drop stitch, which is really nice, but I'm going to check that. That's up, that one's out. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Now one of the things I said you had to do was you had to make an adapter to fit on these military spring valves. First step of the inflation process on the advanced frame unit, not the Sport. The Sport only has one military spring valve, but the advanced frame has two. They have an outer main chamber and an inner main chamber. So what you want to do is do the outer main chamber, and I set it to 1 pound. Now again, I'm going to top everything off to PSI specifications when I get to them. Right now it's just going to take the boat, get it to take shape. Now once I'm done with all this and got the floor inflated, what I'll do is show you guys how I check the alignment of the floor so that my tracking is true on. Now I go to the inside one. This one I can cap off because I won't be inflating that one anymore. I'll top off on the inside main chamber. Alright, so while I'm topping it off using the Advanced Elements dual action pump, I go ahead and inflate the drop stitch floor. But before I do that, I check the alignment of the floor, basic alignment, to see that it's pretty much aligned. And I set my PSI for this one, and I go ahead and start the process for inflation top off. And this is where I do all the deck lifts and the combing and all that kind of stuff while the floor is inflating. Now again, top it off to the spec of 2 pounds. And what you do now is top off your drop stitch floor and bring it to your spec. I only use 5 pounds. And there we go. Okay, now deck lift time and combing. Combing valves take 1 pound. Okay, I've relocated the craft so we can continue this because I'm going to do the floor alignment next. But anyway, you go ahead and finish up your deck lifts. Now I had a question the other day that came in, and they said that the boat was kind of lopsided. And one of the things I like to tell people is on your deck lifts, make sure that your deck lifts, when you're getting ready to inflate, are sitting on this side of the main chamber. Otherwise it's going to inflate here instead of back here. Okay, deck lifts are done, and basically the inflation process is complete. So before I put the seat in, guys, I go ahead and do a floor alignment. Now, This thing can easily not get aligned as the boat ages. It gets a little loose down in the bottom, not a lot, but it's enough to knock your alignment off. And I did a real cool thing using a Marks-A-Lot right here that tells me if I'm in line or not in line. Now here, I'm out of line. This hump should be right on this black line. And that's what I did. So I've got to just align that, and it's really not that big a deal to do. I just turn the boat over. That's why I don't put the seat in. And I get it in a line. The back end wasn't aligned either. So basically that's how I align the floor, guys. And you can see these alignment marks are right on the outside crown of the floor. So now I know it's going to track right. So the next thing to do is put the seat in. I set my lumbar about 50% on the fill. Now with the limited edition, guys, they had an additional strap in the back of the seat. Now, I want to show you how that works here in just a second. But I'm going to show you how I keep the seat from flopping forward. And I use that strap that's provided and the D-ring, it's in the back. And it also secures the combing hoses at the same time. So let me set that up and I'll be right. So if you look at the back of the seat, guys, it comes with this strap. So basically what I do here is I just feed it through here like that. And then up through here and through here. And that keeps the seat from flopping down. That gets my seat there. Now you notice this strap right here. I'm going to explain what that strap is here in just a minute and why I made that strap. Okay, so what we're going to do now, guys, is just basically put in the seat cushion that I purchased. It's from Comfy Life. It's a 2.5-inch memory foam cushion, and it really works well. You can see me, I'm locking it in place here. It isn't going anywhere, and it really gives me that comfort for long hours upon the water. This kind of takes away what I call my TB, or tired butt. So now what we're going to do is add the cart. You don't have to do the cart. This is light enough to carry it down, but for today's demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and put the cart on. So be back in a minute. All right, guys, so what we're going to go and do now is go ahead and put the wheels on. Now again, you don't have to do this, but for demonstration purposes and for those of you that have a long trek to get to your launch, this is the only way to do it. It keeps you from getting tired out. You don't have to go out and buy one of these real crazy cart. Just make sure whatever one you buy that it has a kickstand on it. That really helps you when it comes to setting it up. And basically all I'm going to do is just lift the boat and put it right on top. So it's really nothing. Just want to make sure that your straps are out by the wheels, so when it comes down it's easy to access. And I just lift the boat up. And it's on. And just strap it in, and this part is ready to go. Now again, you don't have to have a cart for this boat, but some of the other craft are pretty heavy. It's like the Elite and the Tandem Convertible. I've used this cart on both of those, and it works perfect. You don't have to cinch the life out of it. You just gotta cinch it. Then check your point, make sure you're good. And we are good there. The next thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go ahead and put on the deck bag. Now, Advanced Elements is just designed and will release in the summer, this summer, the new extra large deck bag. It comes with the clips and everything you need. The hookup is simple. Comes with 4 clips already, just fired up into your D-rings. Now, if you have the Sport, I have a 1-inch web slide clip that I use, and I just slide it down the webbing, of the paddle holder and then put that forward clip into that, and that's for the sport. But these have 4D rings, so it's not an issue at all. And you just clip them in place. This bag is so spacious and has so much room for everything, and you're going to see me load it up here in a bit. But first aid kits, water, cameras, keys, wallet, all that kind of stuff. It has a dry bag included into it. But you can see there it is. It's all set up. So the kayak itself is ready to be launched right now. Just put the paddle on and we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead now and do the camera setup and show you how I do that. And then there's another camera setup I do when I'm on water, and I'll show you that when we get out there. So, hey, I'll be back in a minute. Guys, what I'm going to do now is go ahead and rig up the floating tripod. Now, you've heard me talk about this. This is great for when I want to do paddle buys and I'm by myself and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is just basically hook this up. It's not that big a deal. And then I'm going to show you that rear strap that I was talking about earlier and how I use that to keep it in place. And then it's just a quick release clip for when I'm on water. It doesn't hinder me getting it off, but it keeps it secure on the back of the boat and I don't have to worry about it. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mount the cameras. Now when I'm on water, all I do is hit the automatic record button on top of all 4 cameras. And it really works well. Now normally I use the GoPro Hero 9 and the GoPro Hero 8 here. And today I'm using the GoPro Hero 5 and the Hero 8 here because I'm using the GoPro Hero 9 for the video on a handheld tripod. So let me get this part going on here. You got to make sure your buttons are in the right spot so you can access them from the side. Then I'll show you how I mount it on the kayak itself. Now when you're doing that, you want to have the lens up just a little bit, otherwise you get too much water in the shot. Okay, and the last one is the 8. But the reason I'm using 4 is because it gives me north, south, east, and west coverage, because this floating tripod continually moves on the water. And today, there's chop out there. I know a spot that's pretty calm, but with chop out there, you want to have a camera that has stabilization in it. If it doesn't have stabilization, you're going to have to do it in post-production, and it's kind of a pain to get it to stabilize. So again, I'm lifting the lenses up just a little bit, locking them down. Now, this setup here, the floating tripod, is done. I will leave a link on how I built the floating tripod in the description, so anybody that wants to take on this little task can do that. So let me get this mounted on the boat and show you how that's done. Okay, to hook it up, I made a strap with a quick release clip right here, so I can just click it off like that. And then what I do is I mount it, wrap it around this upper pole and lock it into place, and now it won't fall off. And when I'm out there, I just reach around, hit this clip, grab this, set off all 4 cameras, and then launch it in the water. Really works cool. Now the last thing I'm going to show you before we go on the water is another option for cameras. So be back in a sec. A couple other alternatives you can use, and one that I use constantly for all my videography, and the biggest problem you have on water is keeping the horizon flat. I mean, it's a lot of work to do that. I used to take a lot of gear with me to get that. I mean, electronic gimbals and I mean all kinds of, I had all kinds of weird setups. I bring it all down now to a product from DJI called the Pocket 2, and that's what this is right here. This is a 60 frames a second 4K 3-axis gimbal camera, and it is absolutely phenomenal. Comes with a Wi-Fi device here and also ties into a wireless mic right here. This is what I use primarily on all the videos that you've seen on my channel. One of the other things is I mount it in this system right here, but I only do that when I'm on water. And I'll be showing you that as we get out and launch. And then the last thing, as far as cameras go, is getting yourself a Hero Session. You can get the Session 5. I like the old Session 4s. But get that with the camera mount, and that really works well over the chest strap. The chest strap will block, when you're paddling, it'll block the lens, so you won't get good shots. The bad part with a head camera, every time you move your head, that camera's going to snap and it'll get your people dizzy. I know, I've done it. So it's kind of crazy. So what we're going to do now is go ahead finally and get out on the water. So hey, we'll be back in a minute. All right guys, what we're doing now is we're just going to go ahead, and you can see the setup. I got the paddle all connected, and the PFD I'm using is the Onyx Deluxe because it has pockets on it. It is a auto inflated unit. So I'll take the cart off down below here, take it back up to the truck, and then we'll be ready to go out. It's gotten choppy and a little windy, but not too bad. And we can go on water, and I can show you the GPS system, what I do there. Alright guys, what I want to share with you now is the setup I use to set up my video camera for the Pocket 2. I have a small tripod that sets up like this, holds the phone, and then you'll see me screw it all in here in just a minute. It goes underneath my legs like that. Now, where the zipper is on the advanced frame, they have the forward zippers. They also have this little clip. So I use that clip to clip around the tripod. Then, those of you that own sports is to make one and hand sew this little clip in if you decide this is the way you want to go. Next thing you want to do is to mount your cell phone in, because we have got to set up the GPS. Now I use a program called Map My Fitness. You can see it here. I've got it set up for kayaking. I'm on Lake Davenport. Here's the blue ball, tells me exactly where I am. Okay, so all you need to do on this is to hit start workout. Now it's going to show a line of where you travel, doesn't matter where, and you can easily negotiate your way back. And I did that yesterday, or day before yesterday, when I went out to Tenorock on Lake 5, because that thing was a real spider web. But anyway, that's how I do that. Okay, that's done. So I set that up in here, lock it into place. Then I set up my DJI Pocket 2. Just screw it up on top, as you can see here, and lift it where I want it, because you don't want deck in the shot. So you set it up like that. Now it is an automatic connection system. And I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. I want to get out on the water a little bit. Is get out of this, go to my DJI, turn this camera on. Basically, all I do is hit DJI Mimo, the Mimo app. You can see here, it's coming up online. It's going to ask me to connect. And there's my camera. I'm looking right at it. Now I can control the camera left, right, up, down. It does all kinds of automatic stuff, and it's really, really, really cool. So right now it's on video, so I'm going to go ahead and start recording, and you will see what I'm seeing here in just a sec. Now I've got the microphone hooked up right here. That's the wireless mic for the Pocket 2 camera. I put the wide angle lens on. The reason I did that is when I'm in my 1044, the cockpit isn't as big as the Airvolution, so it has a closer range. But it takes care of all my audio. I can do all the video I want to do, and narration and stuff. And if you can see here, this particular system does not hinder my paddling at all. When you're in wind and you have your paddles flat like this on both ways, now notice mine is pitched that way. It's what they call 45 right. And the reason I do that is if I'm in wind and the wind is either hitting me in the front or hitting me in the back, but if it's hitting me in the front, it will act like a sail, and I don't really want that to happen. Now I set mine at 45 right. Let me get it adjusted correctly here. And as you can see, the pitch there, here's flat, and there it is when it's out of the water. I'm going like this, then I turn it, and then it becomes second nature. At the first time I started messing with an adjustable furl, I was uncomfortable. But then I had to find out what degree that worked for me, and I found out that 45 right is what works for me. 60 is a little much. I just set it on 60 to show you the difference. Now I've got it set on my 45 right. Here is flat. You can see the pitch angle here. So if I'm in wind, it's gonna not act like a sail. And that's really great, especially if you've got a long way to go. You don't want your paddle to fight you. So using an adjustable furl is really a good idea. Carbon fiber paddles, man, I definitely recommend those. The lighter the paddle is, the better off you're going to be. They are pricey though. When you start buying you know, carbon fiber paddles. Now the VLAM wood stuff, that's just fancy. But this paddle, like for instance, is $450. But you can get, I have the, what the heck's the name of that? It's a hybrid. I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, I have this hybrid. It's got a 105-inch blade surface. Now, when I'm in my 14-footer or I'm in the Elite, this is a good example for the Elite. It takes more effort to push water. So I use Aquabound, that's what it is. It's the Aquabound Manta Ray Hybrid. It has a 105 square inch blade surface. That's a lot. So when I'm moving water, I'm moving a lot of water when I use that paddle. So when I'm in the Expedition Elite, I definitely use that paddle. Now on Tenorok the other day, I took the that particular paddle out with me using the Airvolution, and man, it just it just shoots you along, because that's, like I said, that's a lot of surface. One of the other ones I use is an Accent. Those are custom paddles, but they have a built-in grip that sets it like a bent paddle without having a bent paddle. Really, really cool. So anyway, guys, I hope that answered your question on that. We're going to continue our paddle. Once we finish, then we're going to do the fold up and stuff like that. So I'm going to find a spot that has some glass to it, because that gives you the best effect for the floating tripod. And if not, I will use some of the footage I did the other day to show you what the floating tripod does. But if it's in a lot of chop, you're going to have a lot of movement, even if you have stabilization. The only other thing you can do to curtail that is to put gimbals on it, and that kind of just wipes out the whole process. Because you want to have all your cameras waterproof, because this floating tripod also acts as an underwater camera. I've taken it on a couple of my trips where the water was really clear. There was a bunch of manatee there, so I just took the floating tripod, flipped it upside down, and let it float off, and it stayed with the manatees, and it was cool. That was a lot of fun. So anyway, hey, we're going to try to find a spot that we can play around with this floating tripod, and so we'll be back in a bit. All right, guys, as promised, I have found me a nice glassy area to do the floating tripod thing, and this water is just like super glass right now. And the main part of the lake is really, really kind of choppy out there, but in this little cove area, this is ideal for when you want to do these paddle buys and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you how I set this up. Let me get myself in position here. Now I reach back, and remember I told you about that little clip system? I just undo that clip like that. Now the package is all free. Here it is right here. Now this is where I check all the cameras, make sure that the lenses are facing up a little bit, and I just fire them off. That one's recording, I think. Okay, that one's recording. That one's recording. That one's recording. And okay. And then basically all you do, as you can see what I'm doing right here, is I just launch it. And off I go. Now, remember that any movement you make with your paddle is going to cause that thing to flip and roll a little bit. So you may have to use stabilization. I see the sun is glaring into one of the cameras, so I'm going to go to the other side and do a couple paddle buys here. And you can see the value of this particular floating tripod. It's really excellent. I just really, really care for it a lot. I use it a lot, especially when I'm by myself. Now, when Terry and I go out, I keep it with me, but I normally don't have to launch it because she's got cameras on her boat, and we can get all the paddle buys and stuff like that done that way. But you can see how it just kind of sits and rests on the water, as you can see it over there. I think this is pointing the right direction. There we go. And you can see where it's sitting, and then when you want to relocate, you just basically pick it up. And I'm going to do that while it's recording, and because I want to go around the other side of these weeds. So you just kind of get in position here, snatch it up like that, and then I will plow through this vegetation. Just like that, and I'm going to get up over here and do some more recording in this flat spot here. Got another kayaker on the lake, which is kind of cool. We talked earlier. So again, all I do is take this here, and I think that one's a little bit too high. Everything else looks good. I just launch it and let it go. And we'll be getting footage as we do our paddle. Great, isn't it? Man.
Nice morning out here.
Yeah, it is.
You come out often, or
Huh?
you come out here often?
Yeah, I live right here. And that's basically how this is done. And I'll just flip this up here. And then once I get out of these weeds, because this is gator country right in there where I just was. So first thing I'm going to do is shut everything down. Like I said, I normally use the GoPro 9 in this spot right here, and I put the 5 over here. I've got a Yi 4K that I'm using today because for today's event I had to use the 9 for some of my demonstrations. So that's what's going on there. So anyway, hey guys, we are going to start heading back in, and we'll finish up and do the fold and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go get the cart again. Like I said, I normally don't do that. I flip it up on my shoulder and go up. But I want to show you how when I have a long cart required trip, how I hook it up and how I take it back to the unit. But again, don't spend a lot of money on these kayak carts. You don't need them, especially if you're in an Advanced Elements kayak. They don't weigh nothing. So why buy one that can handle 150, 200 pounds and it costs you $200? So anyway, guys, we will chat with you later. We'll see you back up at the truck. All right, guys, what we're going to do now is just kind of basically break this thing down, get all the stuff put away, camera gear, stuff like that, take the deck bag off, and then we're going to do a deflation. But to undo this, like the deck bag, you just undo the 4 clips. It's really not that big a deal. And just like that. Now, this thing still has camera gear in it, but it's not that big a deal. I'll be looking at that when I'm done. All right, next thing on the agenda is to get the paddle all taken care of here. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the cart. All right, next thing is pull your seat out. Okay, now this is when I take off the cart. Okay, normally I wipe down the kayak, but I was here for a little while talking with one of my viewers came by and had some questions on the Airvolution, so I spent some time answering his questions. So basically all you do is break it down. Okay, now we're going to fold this thing up. Now, if you notice, I'm not sucking it down with a pump, because you really don't need to. Leave your military spring valves and everything in the deflate position. Just fold this over and push. Now, you can see there's still some air in here. What I do is just bring this up over the top, like this, and push. To bag it, I always put the thick end first, where the 2 folds are. I always stick that in the bag first, like this. Get it up there, and then bring in the single end. Now I'll show you how I do this. It's pretty kind of cool. I get it about halfway, then lay it on its side, put my knees on it, and finish zipping it up. And now all the air is out of the bag. Oops. Forgot to put seed in. Okay, and that shows you how I fold it. We are going to wrap up this episode out here at Lake Davenport, my favorite workout lake. And we're going to wrap up this episode. I hope that this was very informative for you. That's what I do behind the scenes, all the setup work and all the camera work and setup like that. And then how I inflate it, how I deflate it, what PFD I use, what GPS program I use to make sure I don't get lost out there when I'm in some of these places. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one.